Erin Patterson has been found guilty of murdering 3 relatives by lacing their meals with death cup mushrooms. Investigative reporter Rachael Brown from the ABC's podcast Mushroom Case Daily joins us now from Morwell. Rachael, can you tell us about the moment in the courtroom when the verdict was read out?
Of course, you could have heard a pin drop. The foreperson was asked if the jury had reached a verdict. She said yes. And then we heard the 4 verdicts. So first on the count of attempted murder against Ian Wilkinson. He was the surviving guest from that lunch, and the verdict was guilty. And then for the 3 murder counts, first Heather Wilkinson, Ian's wife, and then Gail and Don Patterson, which was Simon Patterson's parents, and 3 guilty verdicts for them.
And Erin Patterson was in the room watching from the back of the court. How did she react?
She was just behind me. I turned to see her reaction and there was none. She remained quite stoic. I looked for flickers of, sadness or pain or confusion. There was none of that. And she's had a lot of people watching her for a long time. Maybe she's practiced in not giving anything away, but there was no emotions that I could see flicker across her face.
There have been Patterson and Wilkinson family in the court throughout this trial. Ian Wilkinson, the sole surviving lunch guest, was there most days. Was there any family at the verdict?
No, they were there for the entire trial, which is 9 weeks, which is a lot, and it would have been an incredible toll on those 2 families to sit through all of that evidence. There was no one from the family here today that I saw. They have had a representative here. She was here today, a representative for the Patterson family. I don't think she made any comments outside court, but no, the family were not here today. It'll be interesting to see in the coming days if they would like to make a statement or if they will call perhaps, and most presumably for their privacy to be respected.
There's been so much evidence over the last 10 weeks, 50 plus witnesses. She's been found guilty, which means the jury was convinced by the prosecution arguments. Can you remind us what those key arguments were? Sure.
The prosecution told the jury that Erin Patterson was not a forager, that she never mentioned it to friends or family, and then they told the jury that evidence of a search on iNaturalist was found on her computer. That's a citizen scientist website, and that's where 2 posts were found from a Tom May and Christine McKenzie, sightings of death cap mushrooms in Lock and Outram. So they say that these posts were on iNaturalist. There was evidence of an iNaturalist search, albeit back in 2022, and then Erin's phone allegedly pinged in Lock and in Outram in 2023, in April and May, and the prosecution alleged that she visited those 2 sites to find death cap mushrooms. The prosecution told the jury that Erin Patterson was duplicitous, that she was one person to the Patterson family, but to her Facebook friends, she would complain about them and say, I'm over this, I'm done with them, they're a lost cause. This animosity, the prosecution said, was sparked because of a child support payments between her and Simon, and Erin Patterson wanted Don and Gail Patterson to intervene and be mediators, and they were uncomfortable doing that. And then the prosecution made a case of 4 main deceptions. And that was that she lied about having cancer as a ruse to get the guests to come to the lunch, that she poisoned individual beef Wellingtons and kept hers poison-free. The third was that she feigned sickness to make it seem like she had ingested poison also. And then it said there was a sustained cover-up. Now this included saying things like her kids had also eaten leftovers, that she'd got the mushrooms from an Asian grocer in Melbourne, and then she dumped the dehydrator a few days after the lunch, and also gave police what they called a dummy phone, phone B, instead of phone A, the phone that she'd been using during the year. And then finally, of course, the prosecution says that she lied in her police interview and told police, I've never foraged, never owned a dehydrator, and I've been as helpful as I can to the health department.
So Rachael, what happens now?
There'll be a mention in early August, and that's to set that's a directions hearing, and that's to set a date for what's called a plea hearing or a pre-sentence hearing, and then we'll have a sentencing sometime, I think, in the next few months or so. That's how it usually works.
Okay, Rachael Brown in Morwell, thank you for that update.